Welcome to Cooking with Bourbon. I am Nancy Kelly Allen. Today I have got a dish that is a little bit fruit salad and a little bit dessert. So you decide. I prefer to think of it as nutritious, therefore salads. It makes me feel better anyway. But the dish is easy to fix. It requires a little prep work, but very little, and it's delicious as well. So we're going to begin with apples that I have diced, and I squeezed an orange and got maybe a half, 3/4 cups of orange juice in there. And I went ahead and poured it over the apples so that they would not turn brown. Apples have a tendency to turn brown, but I thought with a little citric acid added to them, they probably would stay nice and not become discolored, and they haven't. And I have a couple of oranges sliced to bite size. So that makes 3 oranges, 2 apples, because one of the oranges provided the juice. And I have grapes, and I'm going to slice the remainder. I've done most of the work already. Fruit salad became popular in America in the early 1800s. And by the late 1800s, there were some variations. Waldorf salad, easy for me to say, huh? And that was apples, celery, mixed with mayonnaise, and served on a bed of lettuce. By the mid-1900s, commercial canning companies developed a way to process several fruits, in particular peaches, pears, cherries, in a mixture cut up into bite-sized pieces, and they called it fruit cocktail. And that's what my mother fixed, and she would do it in different ways. Sometimes just the fruit cocktail in its own syrup, and it came in a syrup in a can, as it does today. Sometimes she would mix it with instant pudding, sometimes with whipped cream. Sometimes she added nuts to it, and whatever fruit was available at the time, and usually it was the fruit that came off our tiny farm here, maybe strawberries or apples, or we had a pear tree way up on the hill that had to climb the mountain to get to. But and we had those long berries, what are they called? Mulberries. She put mulberries in it sometimes, and those are delicious. If you haven't tasted a mulberry, try one. I think you'll love it. So next we are adding, and I'm just adding fruits that are available to us. And now fresh fruits are available all year long, which they weren't always when my mother was fixing this back in the 60s, 50s, and 60s. I also have coconut, sweetened coconut. Kind of ties it all together. This dish is also an old Southern recipe. In the South, people had access to fruits for a longer period of time each year than those of us who lived midway up the U.S. or in the North. My mom always put in marshmallows, and so that's the way I like mine. If you would prefer not to use the marshmallows and you wanted a little sweeter, you could use maple syrup or honey. This program is all about cooking with spirit, in particular bourbon. Earlier today, I cut up, well, actually, I didn't. I put it in a food processor, and I probably got the nuts a little smaller than I will when I try this again. I put them in the jar, and then I placed 1.5 tablespoons of bourbon, which I can really smell. And it smells wonderful, that I'm going to put into a recipe and try to get all of them out. Fork in here and see if I can get this out. A friend of mine gave me this bottle. Thank you, Sally. I appreciate that. And I have used it for numerous projects. Just going to give this a stir. Use the fruits that you have on hand. If you don't have apples or oranges and you have pears instead, use that. Use the fruits that you like, that your family likes. With all of my recipes, with the exception of bourbon balls, you can include bourbon or leave it out. Either one, your preference. Now we're going in for the taste test. This is not a sweet recipe at all. It's tangy. If you want it sweeter, add maple syrup or honey. Either one of those would work real well. You could even add a little honey or maple syrup with lemon juice or additional orange juice. That would work real well too. I don't want to add additional sugar to it, but I do like a little creaminess. But some people do not. So in order for some to not have the creaminess and for others to have the creaminess, I'm going to leave mine as it is with no sour cream. I'm leaving out the sugar. And what I'm going to do is, here you can see, I have some in my plate, and I'm just going to add a dollop of Greek yogurt. And that will give a little sweetness, and it will also give creaminess for those who like it that way. So let's give it a taste. Very good. I can still taste the bourbon. I can taste the sweetness of the yogurt, the vanilla of the yogurt, and it gives it a good creamy consistency, which goes well with the tartness of the oranges and the sweetness of the apples and the blueberries. So use the fruit that you have, make it to the level of sweetness that you want, and make it bourbonlicious. Have a good day.